Hi, I'm here to show you my testing on 7 Simagic P-HPR Neos. I purchased these through simmotion, along with the P2000 Control Box and the Simagic APS accessory power supply. I purchased all of these through simmotion, and unfortunately I started having issues with the haptics right away. They would either stop working completely or they would change their tactile feel, like something became loose inside of it and is rattling around. They'll lose strength. They just stop feeling different. Unfortunately, where we are right now is simmotion would like me to return all of these HPR Neos, all 7 of them, no problem, along with the control box and the accessory power supply that they sent me. They also sent me a spare control box to test out, but unfortunately that did not have any effect on the issue. simmotion would like to charge me 15% restocking fee for any items that are functional, which I absolutely do not agree with and I do not consent to, because if it's functional then I should just be able to keep it, right? And not have to go through the refund process. So simmotion would like me to send all these back so that they can test them, determine which ones are defective, which ones are not, and then charge me 15% for anything that isn't defective. So to get ahead of that, I've decided to do my own testing here and demonstrate exactly what the issue is, because it's really easy to show and hear. So without further ado, let's get started. Today is January 23rd, 2025, and I usually use simhub only, and I race on iracing, but in the name of, you know, brand functionality here, I'm going to use Simagic's own software, SimPro Manager. I'm on version 2.0.346, which I just upgraded to today. I'm going to be using the wheel slip effect at 100% and 50 hertz. And I have that set for all 3 outputs for clutch, brake, and throttle, 100% and 50 hertz. That's pretty much full blast for these guys. It makes it really easy to tell what's going on with them. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start with my control guy here. This is I064, and this was actually a functional one. I was using this one on my brake pedal. The brake effects do not seem to kill the haptics as easily. It seems to be more like throttle and wheel slip that, for whatever reason, kills them, or it's the ports on the box. I don't know. But either way, let's get started. Again, this is my control. This one works fine, ending in I064. So let's go ahead and plug it up to the clutch port. Give it a good test. Let it shake around a little bit. It feels good. It sounds good. This is how the haptic should feel. On the clutch. On the brake. And on the throttle. Pretty consistent. All right, so this is our control. This is the working one. I was really bummed to pull this off the rig because it still works fine as a brake haptic, right? So not thrilled to pull it off the rig and pay 15% restocking fee, but this will be our control for today. Next up, we have 2 haptics that have different tactile feels. One is significantly worse than the other, but they both feel different than our control there. So let's get started. This one is obviously defective. You can hear it right away. Something is clunking around inside of it. I don't know if the motor came off the track or whatever. I don't know how these things even work, but obviously does not sound healthy. So that's the clutch port. Move to the brake port. Exactly the same. God, just listen to that. It's so good, right? Onto the clutch. All right. And, sorry, onto the throttle. Excuse me. Port 3 is the throttle. All right. So it sounds terrible. This one is kind of halfway in between these two in that it is mostly functional. However, it does have a little bit of that tactile clunkiness that the other one has. It's harder to feel and it's harder to hear, but you can absolutely hear it and feel it, but it's really hard to convey. But I'm sure that they will determine this one is functional and I will be paying 15% on it. But I took it off the rig for a reason, so I trust my gut. Onto the brake port. Exactly the same. You can hear it's clunkier than the other one, but just barely. and on the throttle port. A lot of times when these fail, they'll have a distinct ozone smell, and they'll be warm to the touch. Like if you notice, okay, I was in a race and it was working, and then it stopped working, touch it and smell it. You should be able to smell ozone, and they get hot when they die. So that's the kind of working one. I still think it's defective, but it still works in some ways. So on to the next 4, and these ones will be really easy because they have pretty much no output at all. They are completely dead. So let's get started. This one has a very small, you can't hear it, you can feel it if you hold it. It just barely activates. On the brake pedal, same thing. And the throttle, same thing. You can feel it activating just at the very beginning, but if you if you touch it, it stops. Like if you put it on the ground, it stops vibrating. So pretty much nothing out of that one there. And real quick before we get too carried away here, the 2 with tactile issues are 8554 and 8527. The control is I064, works fine. The first failed one here, let's go ahead and repeat it, just make sure it's the right one. Do I feel it? Yep, okay. This is the first failed one. It is I085. And these other 3 have absolutely no output at all. They do not buzz even a little bit like that one does. They are completely non-responsive. So on the brake pedal, same. Onto the throttle pedal, same, no effect. Next up we have I067 on throttle pedal, nothing. Onto the brake pedal. Sorry, I keep saying throttle pedal for port 1, but I mean the clutch pedal. Obviously you can see what I'm plugging and clicking. No effects here. Onto port 3, which is throttle pedal. No change, no effect. And the final of the 4, here we have 8526. A little bit of dyslexia for me. 8526 is that one there. And wheel slip. On the clutch, nothing. On the brake, nothing. And on the throttle pedal, nothing. So I have 4 that are basically completely dead. One of them vibrates a teeny tiny bit, but doesn't transfer any effect. I have 2 that have a tactile feel that is different and from the one that does function. So I have 1 completely working haptic that I will have to pay 15% restocking fee for. Maybe even 2, because they might consider one of these to be fully functional. So that's 2 haptics that they're going to want 15% for. And the control box, also the power supply. So they're going to want 15% for those because these are functional. So, you know, I am subject to restocking fee. But Simmotion sent me all these things for free, like for troubleshooting purposes, right? They wanted to get to the bottom of it. They wanted a happy customer. I want to be a happy customer, but unfortunately, that's not where we're going today. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the original haptic box, and I'm going to crack open the brand new haptic box, which I've already tested. It killed a haptic within 4 races, within a couple of hours. So no different at all with this box. I'm pretty sure they're both exactly the same amount of functional. Therefore, I'm subject to 2 restocking fees, I assume. So bummer for me, but we're here on the new control box now. So we're just going to run through the tests again, right? So this is our control. This is the working one. You can hear the Windows sounds. You know there's no shenanigans. Like there's no USB disconnecting except for when I swap the box. So here's our control. Sounds good. It feels good. Onto the brake pedal. Sounds good. Feels good. And the clutch. Sounds good, feels good. This is I064, the working haptic and my control for today. Thank you for your service. Next up we have 8554, which is one of the ones with the tactile feel issue. Let's get started. This one rattles like crazy, clearly defective. I'd be really surprised if they charged me 15% for that, but gotta do my due diligence, right? Sounds horrible. On the brake. No different. Clutch. Throttle, excuse me. Exactly the same. On to the second one. This one is 8527. This is the one that sounds halfway in between these guys, I would say. It sounds a little bit clunkier on the low end, and it feels a little bit chunkier. But I would not be surprised if they called that functional and wanted to charge me 15% again. No worries. They're cheap at least. They're 17 bucks, but you get what you pay for. On the brake pedal. On the clutch pedal. Throttle pedal, excuse me, port 3. At one point I flipped all my effects to run off the clutch port instead of the throttle port for throttle effects, so that's also why I keep calling it the wrong thing, but no different here. So a little bit of a tactile feel different in that one, not nearly as bad as this one, but does not feel like our control there. And back to the 4. These ones are easy. They don't work at all. This is 8526. 8526 is this guy, and we have absolutely nothing on the clutch, nothing on the brake, nothing on throttle. Next up we have I067. Nothing on the clutch. Nothing on the brake. Nothing on the throttle. This is the one that buzzes just a tiny bit when you first touch it, but if you set it on anything, the vibration disappears. This one is I085, the one that vibrates just a tiny bit, but is otherwise completely dead. Onto the brake port. And the clutch. Nothing. All right. God, I called it the clutch and the throttle. Port 3 is the throttle. I think port 1 should be the throttle, and port 3 should be the clutch, but I'm just a user, so. On the clutch port, nothing. This one is I110. Nothing on the clutch port. Nothing on the brake port. Throttle, nothing on the throttle port. Completely dead. All right, so we have 4 that are basically completely dead, 2 with tactile feel differences, and we have 1 that works. And in, you know, the name of being a good tester here, I'm going to throw the one that works back on all 3 ports. So there's absolutely no difference between these 2 boxes. As far as I can tell, they are equally full or equally functional, and I expect to be charged 15% for both of them, which is very frustrating. As again, they sent me all of these, and I'm really grateful. Like, absolutely, I'm grateful that they were willing to send me these things. Excuse me. But if you're going to charge a 15% restocking fee for these things, why don't you tell people that before you start sending them out? So obviously, I'm frustrated. I don't want to send things back and be charged 15% when there's clearly an issue with the HPR Neos. I'm not an electrical engineer or anything. My hypothesis is that these are, they can handle a lot lower load than the full HPRs, which I believe is what the software, both SimPro and SimHub, are designed for. They're designed for much bigger haptics, and when you put these small ones on, it's too much for them to handle. Obviously, they're $17 compared to $45 for a full one. So I think that these aren't beefy enough to handle the same programming the full HPRs are. So that's my testing. I'm very frustrated. I'm very disappointed with simmotion. It feels like they do not believe that I have this issue, and that I don't know if I'm just trying to get free stuff. I'm offering to send it back, so like I don't know what free stuff I'm hoping to get here, because I really just was hoping to have functional pedal haptics. Because honestly, this is one of the absolute best products that I've ever put on my rig while it worked. The problem is these just die almost instantly within hours, days, and that's not a working product. So disappointed in the overall solution. The potential here is huge. So frustrated to be having to send all my functional equipment back for a 15% restocking fee. Very disappointing. Yeah, I'm gonna do a little rig tour real quick too, because this is my desk here. So let's go over to the rig. Nothing special here. I have Fanatec equipment. I don't have Simagic equipment, and you know, maybe that's a good thing in this case, but I have an advanced sim racing rig. I have triple monitors. I have Fanatec CSL load cell pedals. I went so far as to 3-point ground because I drilled holes through this steel plate here, and I'm grounded on the back to here. I grounded these to the Simagic control box, which is an absolute insane step to ground your pedals and the rig to a little control box. But if you're familiar with Simagic's pedals, that is a required step in a lot of cases, because the control box also controls the pedal input for Simagic products. And if it's not grounded, there will be interference in the pedal reading. Like you'll end up with like 20-30% when there's nothing going on. There will be signal being read. And you have to put a grounding strap from that little control box to your pedals, pretty much just like this. But I went way to the extreme and grounded in 3 places. That did not help the issue at all. The control box, the brand new control box that was grounded, and the brand new haptic again died within hours. So didn't seem to have any effect, but I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with having to swap these haptics out all the time. I'm frustrated with having to send back fully functional products that I still would be interested in using, but they want to test them all, and they want to charge me 15% for anything that's functional. So obviously very disappointed with the HPR Neos. I'm probably going to buy another box and another accessory power supply from a competitor and put full HPRs on them, because I'm pretty sure the issue only exists with these, and that everything else works fine. So obviously disappointed, but yeah, appreciate you.